During his 6th year as mayor of Lancaster, RX Paris has been a bold and progressive leader for his hometown. Addressing significant issues such as crime, health and wellness, our city infrastructure, and economic development has been at the forefront of his municipal reign. Establishing Lancaster as a cultural epicenter and tourist destination then followed in his line of pursuits. Most notably, however, has been Mayor Paris' staunch dedication to the advancement of his community within the alternative energy arena. His efforts on all fronts have engaged an audience locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally, establishing Lancaster as a true trendsetter among rural communities. And he wanted me to add my own words, but where do I go? This is our mayor of Lancaster and a very good friend of mine, Mayor RX Paris.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I remember from last time, get away from the speaker, okay, so we don't have the feedback. You know, Steve Baker, I could sing his praises for the next hour. All the things that he has done for this community. And with a heart bigger than he is, and that's big. and he's selfless, absolutely selfless in how he does it. And I usually agree with him with everything, but I do not agree with him that we are a family. We are not. We do not get to pick our family. We do not get to choose them. We are a team, and we have come together as a team with a purpose. And that's what I want to talk to you today. Because in a team, everybody has a role, and everybody better not let down the rest of the team. And right now, I am blessed with a team that is truly incredible. And one of the reasons they're incredible is I've found that you can pretty much categorize people into 3 different categories of what they find important. Some people are what we call communicators, and connectors. And what they find important is what they belong to, who their family is, who their teams are, who they're connected to. And that is their paramount importance. And then we have people that identity or celebrity is what's important to them. And that's what I find most politicians to be. It's about their celebrity, how much accolades they get. And then occasionally you find the ones that are concerned about power. And I mean that in the positive sense of wanting to accomplish things, wanting to create things, wanting to improve the well-being of everybody they represent. And for whatever reason, we were blessed with 4 council people that is what they're attracted to. They will give up the celebrity, they'll give up the group belonging, they'll go against the group, they'll do whatever's necessary to improve this community. And I can't tell you how rare that is. Most councils, if you have one person who's concerned about changing things and improving things and not caring about what celebrity comes with it, you have a blessed community. We are really blessed. And I want to thank you. What I want to talk to you about is our purpose, why we're all on this team, and what we're attempting to accomplish here. And what we're attempting to accomplish, these are my grandchildren. But let's not forget that that's why we're here. It's certainly why I'm here. The decisions we're making in this city today are not for what we accomplish in the next year. They're for what we accomplish for them when they grow up and what kind of community we have created for them. It is not for us. Because what I found is we move too slow for it to be for us, just the way the world revolves, I guess. I want buildings to be built tomorrow, and I don't always get what I want. But what we can do is build a city for them that will truly be remarkable. But we approach it with a purpose, not with fixing today's problem, but with a purpose. The first priority in this city is that we be safe. that our children be safe, that we can step out our door at any time of the day or night and walk wherever we want to walk and not be afraid. There was a time in this community we wouldn't walk out our door at 5 o'clock. Remember that? It's no longer true. We are one of the safest cities in LA County. Our goal is to become one of the safest cities in America. And that's possible. But it's possible only if we do it in ways that have never been done before. And we're starting that. You know, an example of that is the LEAPS program, which is the plane people at first were very opposed to. Now they get concerned if they don't see the red light, circling in the sky, because it's been such an effective program. The reason we have a much safer community is because we had a sheriff that wasn't afraid to try new things. And he made the commitment to us that he would make this city safe and that he would make us the research and development city. And the concern I have is we no longer have that sheriff. And we have an election coming up. And what really concerns me is whether or not the Antelope Valley votes. Because we will decide who is the next sheriff up here. And the reason for that is the biggest contender for it is out of Long Beach. He's the chief of police for Long Beach. If we do not come out and vote and balance that, we will lose the sheriff, meaning we will not have a sheriff that supports Lancaster like we had last month. And things would change. And so if ever there's a time to be voting, it's in the next few elections. The real thing we're working on this year is to improve the quality of the well-being of the people who live here. We still have the highest mortality rate for non-communicable diseases. That means heart disease, cancer, kidney disease, diabetes, all of those killers. We have the highest mortality rate. And what does that mean to us in this room? It means the level of care that's available to all of us is diminished because we have taxed our healthcare system to the max. If people truly understood the statistics, they would be outraged as to what's happening up here with our healthcare. If you're an African American male with renal disease, meaning kidney disease, and you move from Los Angeles to Lancaster or Palmdale, you will die 15 years on average earlier. That's on average. That means some people are dying 25 years earlier than they would if they had just stayed in LA. That is how bad our healthcare system is. And so we can no longer say, okay, the hospital, you take care of it, or the county, you take care of it. We're going to have to start taking on problems that really are not necessarily our own, meaning the city has got to get more and more involved. And we're doing that. One of the ways we do that is with wellness homes. We'll be announcing how we're going to utilize those homes in the next year. The other thing we'll be doing is we'll be announcing a health commission. Dr. Jennifer Hill will chair it with the stated purpose of lowering our mortality rate. And we're going to step on a lot of toes in the process because people just really don't like to hear how bad things are. What they want is they want me to stand up here and tell you how great things are. Well, people are dying needlessly, and I simply refuse to do that. So it's going to be an exciting year, but it's going to be a controversial year. But by the time I'm done being mayor, we will not be a place where they send people to die. We will be a place where they send people to thrive. And we're getting there, but it's going to take a lot of help from you guys. And the first way to do that is to recognize that we have obstacles we have to remove. And we have to have the courage to do it. And we have to have the teamwork. You know, the wonderful thing about this city is the teamwork that's developing. You know, it seems like everybody is coming together and tackling things that we never even looked at before. And it's an exciting place to be because of that. Talk about somebody with courage. This is Berna Meyer. She's on the hospital board. And she's one of those people that are not afraid to say it. Whatever the truth is, she's not afraid to tell it, regardless of the consequence to her. You know, when she's up there saying that the hospital is in trouble in this way or that way, it doesn't look good for you, does it? You know, you're supposed to say how wonderful it is if you want to get reelected.
And we have to be solution-oriented.
And we have to find solutions. She's one of the few people that has joined with the city in looking for those solutions within the parameters that we can work in. We have two things happening. We'll have our own Kaiser Hospital, but we also have the ambulatory care that the county has brought in. That ambulatory care unit will be the most advanced unit in the country. And Michael Antonovich is responsible for that occurring, and we will be opening that this year. And so in conjunction with the hospital and in conjunction with the county, perhaps we have a fighting chance to change the dynamics of the healthcare here. But right now, we have the highest childhood obesity, we have the highest adult obesity, and as a result, we have the highest diabetes and all of the consequences that stem from that. So we're going to have to get a lot healthier. So anybody who has some ideas on how to do that, we want your help. This is a collective problem, and this is going to require a team effort. And what I hope to do at the city is make it so that you have a place to come and develop ideas. And I think we're getting there. You know, the one thing I am the most proud of, we have the Soar High School. That high school is one of the best high schools in the world. Literally, the world. That high school is better than Harvard Westlake, better than Buckley. Both of those schools charge $50,000 a year per student. We have a better school here for free. And what they did was so incredibly remarkable, because they took a population whose parents had not gone to college, most of them single parent families, and divided it up demographically. A third white, a third Hispanic, and a third black. And they were very, I don't know how they did it legally, but that's what they did. So you have everybody represented. And normally you have a school with that demographic, you don't have success. They were not only successful, they took it off the chart. Every one of those kids who graduated had at least 1 year of college completed already. Most had 2, and every one of them went on to college. There is no school in the world that has those types of statistics. We are ranked number 8 in the state, number 4 in the county. I don't know who is better than us there, but they probably have a better PR team. And the top 1% of the nation. You see what we can accomplish in this community just by coming together and being a team as we do it. You know, I think this is our best kept secret. It's Lancaster University Center. We took the old fairgrounds, made it a university center. We have an engineering program there that is one of the best in the state. And these are all engineers that graduated. If you ever get the opportunity to go over there and tour it, you should, because again, our geographic location has come to our aid in that we're right next to Edwards, and they give us all their used equipment. And this is the federal government. Used to them is a year old. So we're training engineers with state-of-the-art equipment. One time I went over there and I said, so could you guys build me a device that we could put on the off-ramp, the overpass on a freeway, and detect drunk drivers and notify the highway patrol when they're detected? Their response was, sure, we can do that. Of course, then I found out it was illegal to do it. But imagine that. These are students, and they say, yeah, we can do that. That's not that difficult. They built a Mars rover, a little one, but all of the technology of a Mars rover. And they run it around in the backyard. But all of the technology that went into the Mars rover, they created, and they're students. Not one of them have a degree yet. That is truly remarkable. Dawn Evanson is here. Let me tell you what she did. She created a charter school called iLead. You all ought to go over there and see that school and talk to the kids. Because when you talk to these kids and you ask them what's the difference between iLead and the school you left, the first thing they say, we're safe here. Nobody messes with us here. And they named it for a reason. They are teaching these kids how to lead, social skills that are so often the key to success, which are never given to them. What they are accomplishing in that warehouse that they turned into a school is beyond belief. And that's all it was a warehouse. When they said they were going to turn that into a school, I was dumbfounded that they were even going to try. But they did. And Amber is her partner, and they're taking their show on the road, and I hear you're opening these all over the place now because it is so successful. And again, it was a partnership with the city, with the schools, and the willingness to say yes to somebody who had a different idea. We are going to be announcing soon a 50-year plan of how we want to build this city. I was hoping we'd already be in progress, but again, I think it should happen tomorrow, and people tell me, no, it takes a little longer to figure things out. But we have to start paying attention to how we design the community and how this community grows, because we are walking into an era of scarcity that we have never seen before. I'm always getting in the argument about climate change, and anymore I just don't care to have the argument. Because right now we're in a 500-year drought, meaning 500 years. Think about that. And there's every indication that it's going to get worse, not better. We have to start designing differently, and we have to start designing with the future in mind. I just got back from Arizona, and one of the reasons I was there is I wanted to see how they live without water, because they essentially do. But how many here have a front lawn? No, come on, get involved here. How many have a front lawn? Raise your hand high. Because next year I'm going to ask this question again, and I doubt we'll see two hands. I doubt we'll see two hands. And if not next year, certainly the following year. Wouldn't you say, Mark? 2 years? And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And you all see the growth we're doing. You all see Lancaster Boulevard. But we're also doing other things. We're preserving the desert. A lot of this is because of Ron Smith's efforts of getting other, whenever developers develop, they have to put so much money aside for conservation purposes. Well, the city of Lancaster has been able to go out and get them to give it to us. Now, how they did that, I don't know. How do you get people to give money away? But that's essentially what they did, because they didn't have a conservation program in place. So not only do we have our development fees that go into it, we're getting other people's development fees. And we're building out that poppy reserve so that it will hook up to other reserves. So you end up with this huge amount of conservation land, or whatever they call it, so that you actually have a meaningful experience when you go to it, instead of a patchwork system where you have 30 acres here, 30 acres there. You want it huge, and that's what it'll be, is huge. And best of all, we're not having to pay for it. This city is truly amazing. We have half the staff that we did 5 years ago. Half. And we are accomplishing more than we accomplished ever before by an exponential factor. It is, we haven't figured it out yet. Why is that happening? How does that work? I mean, they volunteer their time. They truly have made their job their purpose. And you see it in everywhere you turn in that city. And the staff is doing it with half the people. That is, to me, the most remarkable thing that they've accomplished. And we owe that to our city manager. You know, people will not commit unless they have a leader. And his leadership within the staff is proven by what they're actually accomplishing. We have won the most business-friendly city in LA 2 times now. No one else has ever done that. Why is that important? That is probably the most important award we've achieved, because we get to advertise that around the world. And when we're over in China and when we're over in the Middle East and we're trying to get companies to invest, we have something to show them. If you're thinking of coming to LA County, where would you go? You would go to the most business-friendly city in the county. Those awards, when we first started getting them, I didn't think much of them. What do you do with it? You stick it on a mantelpiece someplace. What does it mean? Until I went to China, and they started talking to me about the awards Lancaster has achieved. You know, the internet has changed the game. They knew everything about me. They knew everything about our city. How did you know this? You know, I'm thinking spies, right? We Googled it. Everybody's a spy now. You know, everybody has what they call perfect knowledge. And as long as we keep excelling, being the top city in the world, we will continue to reap the rewards of that. And we will be announcing more and more projects as we go along. You know, I could go on about Morton Manufacturing, I could go on about BYD, but you all know that. You know, we are building some of the most advanced technology in this city, and that all came in the last year. That bus is the most advanced bus ever created on the globe. It will go 120 miles without a charge. That's a big bus. That's heavy. There is no other bus in the world that can do that. And it does it with the same performance level as a regular bus. But then again, this is how that team effort comes into play. Where's Marvin Christ? This is one of the smartest people in the room. And let me give you an example of that. He's on the Antelope Valley Transportation Agency, and an issue arises. Should they buy 12 diesel buses for $500,000 each? Or should they buy a BYD bus for $1 million? Well, everybody thought that was an obvious answer, except Marvin. Because Marvin was able to look 20 years down the road, or 10 years down the road, or 5 years down the road. You know what you got to do with those $500,000 buses? You got to put gas in them. You don't put any gas in that bus. But there's a financing problem now. You know, you're asking people to spend $12 million versus $6 million. He develops a business model which is, no, we'll buy the bus for $500,000 and we'll lease the batteries. And we'll lease the batteries for less than we pay for gas every month. That has never been done before. It's an evolving industry, and it was absolutely brilliant. And it's now becoming the world model for financing electric buses. Here in Lancaster, from somebody you'd never expect it from. Talk about partnerships. The Downtown Business Association, the Lancaster Boulevard Association, with the city, that's an international award for revitalizing your downtown. International. It's unbelievable what we're able to accomplish when we just recognize we're a team. We're not at cross purposes. The vision I have of Lancaster Boulevard, we have these incredible events that we put on with the business leaders and we put on with the city. But the city can't afford to pay for all of them. And the Business Association really can't afford to pay for all of them. So we're working on a model that, say you want to have a pottery show, and you want to bring in 20,000 people to the pottery show. We'll rent it by the block. By the block, we can figure out the costs. How many blocks do you want? This is what it'll cost for the weekend. And we'll provide all the services that go with it. I envision a day where every weekend we have some kind of event, some kind of festival going on at Lancaster Boulevard. And those businesses that had the foresight to lease on that boulevard, they are going to reap huge rewards when that happens. But they will be open on weekends. Sandy Smith and Ron Emard and many other people came together on Destination Lancaster. That is a remarkable team effort, that we are getting national recognition, and we measure that by how many clicks on the website and how many times they go to another page on the website. And we're, again, blowing them off the charts. But what we have to do, we have to provide more entertainment for them. The great thing about it is we have the resources to do that. How many people love MOA as much as I do? I mean, I never thought we would have something like that. But the amazing thing about MOA is you can rent it for a really cheap price for whatever events you want to have. It lifts whatever event you're having up far greater than you could do elsewhere. If nothing else, just the elevation and the art, and you got this museum that you can throw parties in. To me, that's pretty cool. Of course, my wife threw my birthday party there. And see her shaking her head, don't introduce her, I've got the smartest person I've ever met for a wife. And you might think that I'm just saying that. You don't have to stand up. It's my wife, Carol. But how do I know that? Because I gave her an IQ test before we got married. And she really is brighter than anybody I ever met. And if you ever want to wonder why their billboard has $1 billion on it, that's the reason. It wasn't me. She has been incredibly supportive in allowing me to do the things I do with the city. Because as Marvin will tell you, as Ron Smith will tell you, as Sandra will tell you, it's about an 80-hour-a-week job. When I ran for this job, I told the press I expected 10 hours a week. I really did expect 10 hours a week. Boy, was I wrong. Look at what we have in this city, no one else has. We have the best soccer fields in the country. And if you have any doubt about that, ask the club soccer teams that are there every weekend. The best in the country. One of the deals we're working with now is the hope that the Premier of China is a big soccer fan. And we're talking to them about building a facility at the soccer field to train the women's soccer team of China, because they want to come to the U.S. to train. That's one of the things we're competing with. And when they come to Lancaster, they go, what? Then they saw the soccer field, and it just blew them away. We have things nobody else has, and it's sort of like a secret almost for some reason. The softball fields that we have, no one else has fields like that. We're always doing softball tournaments, and when they come, it just blows them away, that the facility we have sitting there. And a lot of that just had to do with the foresight of Jim Gilley. Remember him? How many remember Jim? But he had vision. And that soccer field and that softball stadium were his vision. And one of the things I hope to continue with is the ability to see 20 years from now the way things should be. That's why there's somebody swimming there. We need 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Do you know how many kids are out there that have no place to compete? How many schools? Again, we can start bringing people to Lancaster. We will have something nobody else has. We already have one. We have it at the college. We just need 2 more. And then we will be the center for swimming events. That's one of the things we're hoping to do. I'm not a big proponent of alcohol, as most people know, and somehow that slide came in. But, I got to hand it to them. They took beer and turned it into an event that thousands of people went to. I mean, how do you do that? Everybody has beer. They created a beer festival. Thousands of people came. And one of the reasons I left that slide in is because these were not council members that did this. These are regular folks that wanted to get involved in their city and had an idea and were looking for somebody to say yes. And the default position of our city, compared to any other city I'm aware of, is we look for reasons to say yes. So those of you who have wanted those of you who have dreamed of doing events, now's your chance. We got an air show coming that is going to knock your socks off. And again, where's JD? There you are. Again, it's people with an idea that wanted to do something that hasn't been done in this city ever. I remember when I was about 10 years old, they had an air show at Plant 42, that this air show is going to be bigger than. And it's that same willingness to get on a team that makes that happen, that gets the Blue Angels coming. Now, I hear that some of us are actually going to ride with the Blue Angels, but they're not saying who yet. And for the first time in a long time, I'm anxious. I'm anxious that they might say no, and then I'm anxious they might say yes. But there's several people in this room that are on the list, and I don't know how they selected. I was worried about this slide. I used this slide when I gave a speech 2 weeks ago to the solar energy people in San Diego. And the purpose of the slide then was that we are on our way to being a power company because of all the solar fields we have. We will be selling electricity just like Edison does, except we'll be selling it cheaper. And that's pretty cool. And that was Vern Lawson's staff and Jason Cottle, and where's Neil? Neil loves to do public speaking. He is the most humble guy I know. And he's also has accomplished more than almost anybody I've ever met. And I say almost because I did meet Ronald Reagan. But he's in charge of our public works. And without him, we wouldn't have even thought of creating our own power company. Not only did he help us think it up, we just said, okay, Neil, do it. I mean, it's easy for us to come up with ideas. He actually makes them work. Things that have never been done before, the impossible. But I was a little worried about the slide because of the word evolution on it. That didn't seem to fit. So I looked it up. Evolution means very slow changes. We are out of time. We cannot afford slow changes. And so I changed the name to probably a more controversial word. But what we're doing in this city is revolutionary. And it's revolutionary with a purpose. This world is changing exponentially fast. And what we are hoping to accomplish in Lancaster is to create a template for other cities when the world finally wakes up to the fact that that 500-year drought is probably here to stay. This climate is changing rapidly, and it is changing before our eyes. There are places in North America that have already disappeared. And it's such a slow process that we want to act like it's not happening. But it is happening. And we are going to see changes very soon that will cause the world to say we have to go to alternative energy. That is a process. We want to be able to create a city that we can hand to them and say, this is how you convert over. And I'll talk to you a little bit of why that makes sense, even if you disagree with me about climate change. Let's talk about this drought for a second, because I cannot give you an honest state of the city without also talking about the bad. They're cutting our water 60%. 60%. That means we have 40% of the water left. Simple math. Look at your own usage. Look at what you do in your own homes. Take 60% of that water away, because that's what's coming. And what they do in severe droughts is they turn it off. When you reach your allocation, they turn it off. What they'll first do is raise the price beyond what we can afford after you hit a certain mark. As it gets worse, they're just going to turn it off when you reach your allotment. And that is not our problem, because we do not have the keys to the solution. This is the county's problem. Our water district is run by the Board of Supervisors. But they haven't come to us with any solutions. They haven't even come to us with a discussion of let's discuss solutions. And I think what's going to occur is that's going to happen, and then we're going to have to step in. And we're going to have to step in with draconian laws none of us are going to like. And so what I'm proposing to you, and this is the community that needs to do it, because it is going to affect everybody's business. We have to find a way to fix this. And we have to find a way to fix it so that the whole community takes ownership of it. So it's not a situation of us just saying, we're going to turn your water off. We have to help everybody find solutions. We have to replace those lawns. So we have to help people do that. I mean, I think Arizona's beautiful. I think those houses that I was looking at were beautiful. I just didn't see any grass. I saw low water plants, plants that use very little water to grow. We have to convert over to xeriscaping. And we have to recognize something else. Remember the toilet to tap argument they had in the city to the south? And people were trying to change political positions by accusing them of wanting to go toilet to tap. They take these metaphors that everybody finds disgusting. I mean, that truly is disgusting if you view it that way. But it amazes me the foresight of people. We were really complaining that they created this sanitation district with the technology that was far beyond anything we needed. Guess what? We need it. We can solve this with what we have, but we're going to have to do it absolutely differently than we've ever done it before. That sanitation plant can make water that is cleaner than a bottled water. But try to get people to recognize that and believe it is going to take a community effort. And it's going to take huge risks, because there are going to be a bunch of pimps out there that are going to try to get people unelected by using metaphors of toilet to tap as we see our valley shrink. Because if we do not fix this, we will not have any growth. It is that serious of a problem. we really have to come together as a team. And we really have to recognize that the sanitation district water, purple pipe water, is not something to waste. It is not something you turn into steam. It is what we are going to rely on to thrive. And what I mean by that is there isn't going to be any purple pipe water if they build that power plant. It will all go to that. I've told you about how we're going to be selling power. We're doing solar like it's never been done. I just met with a group, and in a month, they're going to be installing those panels robotically, which makes the cost of power drop substantially. Where you place the panels, a robot is going to make the tracks to put it down, and then another robot comes along and puts it on. And I know we all hate that because it means fewer jobs, right? The other side of it is it makes it affordable. It makes it sustainable. We're going to be experimenting with that in Lancaster within a couple months. The problem with solar is you can't store it. You can't store the energy. We'll be announcing a project over at eSolar where they will be able to store the energy for 15 hours, meaning we can create the energy during the day and put it onto the grid at night, which means for the first time, alternative energy is not only going to be affordable, it's going to be able to power the grid 24 hours a day. And that's because of innovation and experiments that are happening in Lancaster. We have 25 schools that 80% powered by solar. Every building in the city, meaning city-owned building, powered by solar. This was last year's savings. That's a lot of money. And that will be growing every year, the amount of savings we have. So whether you believe in climate change or not, alternative energy is economically the only solution that a lot of companies are going to have because the price of power is going to continue to rise. This month, I was hoping Tom DePrima would be here because he will be announcing this month a house that will change the world, and they're going to build the first one here. I think they've already built it. Remember a couple years ago we put BYD together with KB, and they built a home that could go off the grid for 4 days. That home has no power bill, no electric bill. It's been up and running 2 years now. They pay no electricity bill. Now the thing unique about it is it was affordable. We had a meeting with KB Homes and brought BYD in. You know, they're big. KB is the biggest home builder in the world. So they got this big conference room, you know, and the president of the company's there, and Mark and I go in and sit down and act like we do this every day, you know. And it was intimidating, it really was, because these were the major players in the business community. And we were presenting an idea to them of build an affordable house that produces more electricity than it uses. And all their engineers were there, and they were saying, can't be done affordably. I mean, anybody can do it for millions of dollars, but we can't do it affordably. And I said, okay, well, what would it take to get you to try? We waived permit fees, but their biggest concern was how long is it going to take to get a permit? And apparently that is a huge obstacle to businesses, is because of the cost of money. How long does it take to get a permit? And so I looked at my watch and said, how long do you want it to take? They didn't believe me, but said, okay, we'll give it a try. And they built that house. What Tom DePrima tells me is that that house changed the culture of KB Homes. No longer were they building homes that everybody else was building, and it was just a marketing war as to how to succeed. They took the KB brand and said, let's build houses that have never been built before. And what Tom tells me is the whole company changed in that they were coming up with ideas they never would have proposed before. And the executives in the company were saying yes instead of ignoring any risk involved. That house there produces more energy than it uses for half the cost of the original home, You know, it cost about 80 grand to do it the first time. Now it's down to 40, but you will never have an electric bill. And it uses 1/10 the water. How cool is that? If all of our homes had that water system, we wouldn't care about this drought. But because of that we really have this purpose-driven innovation culture that's now growing in Lancaster. That home was created, and it will change the Southwest. I am unbelievably blessed to be in a city that is truly purpose-driven, and a staff that is more driven than I am. That is not always the best experience, a common experience I have. I'm always in a situation with them where they're waiting for me. I don't wait for them. They're that far ahead. I forgot in the process of this, the same thing that happened to KB Homes happened to the city. You know, in 4.5 years, we are going to have the best streets and roads in America. But here's the kicker, for half the cost. Because again, Robert Neal and his buddies over in the road department found a device that totally repaves the road without moving anything in, using microwaves and this latest technology for half the cost. You live in a city that is innovation inspired. And if you're not involved in that and not engaged in that process, you are missing the best ride you could imagine. If I were to die tomorrow, I want my tombstone to say, it was an E-ride. Now, you notice the age differential of people laughing. Because most of you don't know what an E-ride is. When you used to go to Disneyland, they gave you a ticket book, and you had 2 E-tickets. And that was Pirates of the Caribbean or the Matterhorn. The really good rides were the E-rides. Living in Lancaster is an E-ride. And if you're not in the middle of that experience, come see us. We'll tell you how to get on. And remember, everything we do has to be devoted to them, not us. Thank you.